Okay, so yeah, Dandra said story about Artie's mom. We know a little bit about his mom, but it wasn't mostly about his mom, right? We learned how they met, him and her and his dad. Yes, the girl is crazy for him. So we have Lucia Greenberg. She is absolutely obsessed with Artie's dad, with Vladek, when he's going back in this flashback and telling the story of his life. But he ends up marrying Artie's mom instead, Anya. He ends up marrying her. She's a kind girl. We know that her family is wealthy, and that's going to be important later in the story, especially for World War II and the Holocaust and what was going on. But yes, he kind of leaves the girl who's obsessed with him behind and chooses Anya instead. And it's a little bit of a flashback. Somebody put in the chat and tell me why he decides to include this in his book. It doesn't even have to do with World War II yet and the Holocaust. So why did Artie say that he wanted to include this story about his dad at the beginning of the book? Go ahead and type it into the chat for me. Yeah, good answer, DeAndre. What does everybody else have? Yeah, good job, Ayana. Yeah, even though the characters are depicted as animals, he said he wants to make it more human. He wants to be able to tell the story. You know, if you just jump in and people are in the concentration camps and they're suffering, you might not get a sense of these characters than if you learn about them and what was going on in their normal life and how peaceful it was and how great it was before they went in. Remember when we did Of Mice and Men, and at the beginning of that book, it's like all peaceful and they're by the river and Lenny and George are just hanging out. And then everything kind of goes downhill from there, right? He's doing the same thing. He's given us a nice little beginning where the characters are dating and everything's happy so that you can see how bad it gets and what that contrast is like. Yeah, definitely wants to make the story more real. Okay, so let's start reading together. Okay, we are on page, technically page 26, if you look at the bottom of that PDF. For the next few months, I went back to visit my father quite regularly to hear his story. About Mom, 11, 12, 13. What are you doing, Pop? Again, so this is in the current, the present day. He's talking to his dad. This is not a flashback. I'm making into daily portions my pills, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So many? Yeah, it's 6 pills for the heart, 1 for diabetes, and maybe 25 or 30 vitamins. For my condition, I must fight to save myself. Doctors, they only give me junk food. That's how I call prescription drugs now. I study this in my prevention magazines. Maybe you want to read? No thanks. About Mom, did she have any boyfriends before she met you? Not romantic, but one tall boy from Warsaw. He was a communist. Even after the marriage, when this fellow came to Sosnowiec, Anya always ran to see him. I didn't know, of course, that he was a communist. I always kept far away from communist people. Okay, so definitely in the time of Poland, there's a mistrust of communist people, which basically communism is the style of government where everything is owned by the government, but is kind of spread across to everybody. Everybody owns something instead of only wealthy people owning things, but really the government ends up controlling everything. Next section here. A little after we were married, I came home from a selling trip. Hey, Vladek, they just arrested the seamstress that lives down your hall. She had some secret communist documents. So this is when we see things are starting to already go negative here. There's already arrests that are happening. And when I went upstairs, the police just what's the matter? The police were here looking for Anya. She just told us that boy from Warsaw brings communist messages. She translates them into German and passes them on. Anya was involved in conspirations. This is going to be one of your questions later, so keep this in mind. But yeah, we just found out that his wife, Artie's mom, was helping to translate these communist messages and passing them on to this other guy. A little before the police came, she got from friends a telephone call. They suspect you. Hide the papers quickly, but they're important. Try not to destroy them. What to do? She ran to the seamstress, what was one of our tenants. Miss Stefanska, please hide this package for me. Don't tell anyone about it. And Ani was a good customer, so she agreed. The police went over our house top to bottom. It was nothing to find, so they searched the neighbors. Okay, how did you get this package? I never saw it before. One of my customers must have left it. Anya was safe, but the seamstress was arrested. So you'll notice here that these officers are pigs. Remember, he depicts the Polish people as pigs. He depicts the Jewish people as mice. So we're seeing that in the picture. And what we know so far, Anya has clearly lied and lets the seamstress kind of get arrested so that she doesn't get in trouble. Next page. When I found out this story, I was ready to break the marriage. I told her, Anya, if you want me, you have to go my way. If you want your communist friends, that I can't stay in this house. And she was a good girl, and of course she stopped all such things. Well, what happened to the seamstress? Miss Stefanska sat in prison for a longer time, maybe 3 months. It wasn't enough evidence, and finally the police let her go. Father-in-law paid the cost from the lawyers and gave her some money. It cost maybe 15,000 zlotys. That's a lot, huh? Yeah, but not only this, at the same time, he did for us even more. You know, Vladek, when you and Anya give me a grandchild, I want him to be well off. Well, I almost have enough from my sales trips to start up a textile shop. A shop? You ought to have a textile factory. Well, that will cost a fortune. Please, I can give you the money and plenty of credit. So I started a factory in Bielsko and visited Anya every weekend. So not only does the dad help this lady who is in jail because he's trying to, cover up what his daughter did, but he's also giving Vladek, Artie's dad, he gives him a lot of money to start his own factory. Next page, page 30. By October 1937, the factory was going, and it was born my first son, Raishu. He's a big baby, over 3 kilos. My God, Anya only weighs 39. Of course, you never knew him. He didn't come out from the war. Yes, I know. But wait, if you were married in February and Raishu was born in October, was he premature? Yes, a little. But you, after the war, when you were born, was very premature. The doctors thought you wouldn't live. I found a specialist what saved you. He had to break your arm to take you out from Anya's belly. And when you were a tiny baby, your arm always jumped up like so. We joked and called you Hail Hitler. Always we pushed your arm down and you would, oops. Now look what you made me do. Me? Okay, I'll recount them later. No, you don't know counting pills. I'll do it after. I'm an expert for this. So Anya stayed with the family and I went to live in Bielsko for my factory business and to find for us an apartment. But soon it came from Sosnowiec, a telephone. Vladek, come home right away. Anya is sick. She was crying as soon as I came in. What's wrong, darling? It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. But why are you crying? I don't know. I have a good family, a fine son. I should be happy, but I don't care. I just don't want to live. Here, baby, drink this and rest. I don't understand. What's the matter? Giving birth was too much of a strain. She's always hysterical or depressed. A breakdown. Please. The doctor told us about a sanitarium, but somebody must go with her, someone she trusts. Everything's arranged. The child can stay here with a governess, and I'll watch your factory. A sanitarium is like a mental health hospital, guys, where she can go to get some rest and to get taken care of for her mental health. Next page. Right away we went. The sanitarium was inside Czechoslovakia, one of the most expensive and beautiful in the world. I remember when we were almost arrived, we passed a small town. Oi! Everybody, every Jew from the train got very excited and frightened. Look! It was the beginning of 1938, before the war. Hanging high in the center of town was a Nazi flag. So this is the first time we're kind of seeing this, guys, being introduced into our story here. Here was the first time I saw with my own eyes the swastika. I tell you, there's a pogrom going on in Germany today. One fellow told us of his cousin that was living in Germany. He had to sell his business to a German and run out from the country without even the money. The sign says, I am a filthy Jew, that they're making him carry. It was very hard there for the Jews. Terrible. Another fellow told us of a relative in Brandenburg. The police came to his house and no one heard again from him. Guys, notice that the Nazi symbol is in the back of all of these stories that they're telling right now. This town is Jew-free. It was many, many such stories. Synagogues burned, Jews beaten with no reason, whole towns pushing out all Jews, each story worse than the other. Let's hope that those Nazi gangsters get thrown out of power. Yes, just pray that they don't start a war. That's where we're going to stop for today with our reading. But we know, obviously, that as these Nazi stories are coming up, people are like, oh, somebody's going to take care of it. Let's hope they don't start a war. But we know, obviously, from history that they do, and it does get worse. Let's flip back over to those questions, guys. We're going to look at questions for today. Okay, so vocabulary. There were 2 new words that you might not have known. Pogrom, He says on the last few pages there is a riot and destruction that's targeted at a specific group of people, and a sanitarium is a mental health hospital. So as a little vocabulary check for first question here, what I want you to do is, based on the definition, I want you to write a sentence using the word pogrom. Again, the definition is right here. And then write a sentence using the word sanitarium, and the definition is right here. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys, let's take 2 minutes to do that. If you want to put your sentences into the chat, I'll tell you how you did. Yeah, John Laney, that's a good sentence for pogrom. Good job. Yes, Deshawn. Yeah, so I gave you the definitions on there. You're going to put them into a sentence for each. Yes, Amari, good job. Hi, Jasir. Good morning. We are working on the Google Doc right now. We already finished our reading for today. So if you haven't read, you might want to go back to the link and read the story. Yeah, Ayana, that's good for pogrom. Nyla, both of those look really good. Yeah, Leighton, that's the definition. I want you guys to take the word and put it in a sentence of your own. Deshawn, give me some more clues to that shows me that you know what that word means. So add some more to that sentence to kind of show me some clues. The context clues there. Yes, John Laney, good job. Amari, yes, I like your use of the TV show All American there. That's good. Tavana, a pogrom is more like when you're rioting against a group of people because you don't like them for whatever reason. So it's not a good thing, it's a negative thing. Take a look at that definition again on the Google Doc. Alicia, that's good. Jason, look again at the definition on the Google Doc. And try to use that again in a different one. All right, guys, let's do 20 more seconds, and I'm gonna go back and move on to the next one. Yes, Ayana, good job on sanitarium. Just a reminder, I am writing down names of people who are participating regularly throughout the Zoom lesson. All right, let's flip back over to the next question. Question 2, this is a race strategy. So we have a race strategy, a couple multiple choice, and then the last one you're just explaining in your own words. It's not the full race strategy. Number 2, why do you think the artist of this graphic novel places a swastika in the background of the panels that show the plight of the Jews in the time of Hitler from page 33? So let me walk you through what I mean by this question. If you go to page 33, when they start telling the stories, all of these different Jews are on the train together, and they're telling all of these stories of what they're hearing is happening in Germany right now to different Jews in different parts of the country, right? And anytime one of them tells the story, he had to sell his business and was run out. Things are very hard there. This person, another guy from Brandenburg, the police came to his house and no one heard from him. This story, the synagogues are burned, Jews are beaten with no reason. All of these different stories they're telling on the train of things that they're hearing about the Nazis. There's a swastika in the background of this drawing. And the drawings for graphic novels are just as important as the text themselves, right? So for that question, I want you guys to think about, why do you think the artist, he could have just drawn pictures of people getting tortured or getting taken or whatever it was, but he decides to put the swastika in the background of each one of these pictures on page 33. I want you to use the race strategy here and tell me why you think the artist did that. I'm going to give you about 2 to 3 minutes to work on that, and then you can type it into the chat for me. So basically the question is asking, why did the artist on page 33 decide to put those swastikas, that symbol, Nazi symbol, in the background of all of those different comic strips? Why didn't the artist just draw the characters? Why did the artist put the swastika in the background of all of those? Yeah, Leighton, that's a good answer. And Neely, that's a good answer. But just remember, guys, you guys need to make it the race strategy. For that one, that's the only race strategy on here. So the artist put the swastikas in the background because, and then give me your answer. And then in the text it says, and then pull a piece of text from page 33. And then this shows or this means. That's for question number 2. If you do not have all parts of the race strategy, guys, you will not be receiving full credit. So make sure that you do that. It's an essential part of your grade. You're going to find your text evidence for in the text it says on page 33. Right? Yeah, page 33. When you have your race strategy, if you want to copy and paste it into the chat, I can give you feedback and tell you if you're missing anything. Amanda, I'm going to message it to you. Amari, great job on that. That is a beautiful race strategy. Yeah, Jason, that's a really good R and A. Now you need CE. In the text it says, and then this shows or this means. If you're just now joining the call, there were 3 or 4 people that came in late. Just a heads up, I unfortunately had to give 3 different students zeros this morning and contact their parents because they were copying each other's work on Google Classroom, sharing the documents with each other. If you and another student copy work off of each other, you will both receive zeros on the assignment and you will not be allowed to make it up. So better to not do it. Please do not cheat on any assignment. Let's do 30 more seconds. Anybody else that wants to copy and paste your race strategy, and I can give you feedback. There's a couple of you I haven't heard from much today. Again, I'm going to give extra credit to the people who are participating. So if you're on the call, please make sure you're using the chat and participating. Oh, Nyla, I must have missed yours. Hold on, let me go look. There it is. Yes, Nyla, great job on that. Looks great. Eric, you can pull any piece of text evidence from page 33 to prove your answer. All right, guys, we are gonna jump back on over. If you didn't get to ask me yet, I usually stay on the call for the last 10 minutes and you can ask me then at the very end of the lesson. Question number 3, this is a context clue question. Based on context clues, what is most likely the meaning of conspirations on page 27? Secret police, sewing clothing, unlawful plans against the government, or Latin to English translation? So first thing we have to do is go back to page 27. And again, you're not looking at this top portion here, you're looking at the bottom of the actual PDF. So I see page 27 here. So yeah, here, if I'm looking, page 27. How do I stop annotating now? There we go. Oh gosh, that just stays on the screen. That's annoying. Okay, so if I'm looking on 27, I see the word conspirations at the bottom here. This is the part where Anya, his wife, we just find out that she has been translating those messages to communist people, and that she gives the documents to the seamstress for her to get in trouble and get arrested instead. So this is where Vladek finds out his wife is doing this. The police were here looking for Anya. She just told us that boy from Warsaw brings communist messages. She translates them into German and passes them on. Anya was involved in conspirations. So let's look at that question. Whoops. Here. Okay, so if she's involved in conspiration, something she's involved in, I want you to put your answer into the chat and tell me what you think the answer is. Most of you are getting it right. Looks like we're a little torn between C and D. Most of you getting it right. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so remembering that she is involved in translations, guys, but what is she translating? She's translating it into what language? Yeah, she's translating it into German, and German has nothing to do with D. This is Latin to English, and Latin is nowhere in this. The answers are C, unlawful plans against the government. So she is translating these messages and passing them along. Obviously, the police are there, so that's not something that they agree with. So it's an unlawful plan against the government. So that's your answer. I want you guys to go find the best piece of text evidence from that page, from page 27, to prove your answer. And I don't want you to use the text, whoops. I do not want you to just use Anya was involved in conspirations. That doesn't give us enough. What else on page 27, or I guess 28, but probably what else from page 27 helps us to figure out the meaning of conspirations? That's not just that last sentence. If you think you know it, you can put it in the chat and I'll give you feedback. I'm going to give you guys maybe a minute or two on that. Looking for a piece of text on page 27 of the document that helps us figure out the meaning of conspirations. Yes, Nyla, that's a great one. Deshawn, yeah, that'll work. That's good. Deshawn found a piece from page 28. If you want to look on page 28 as well, that's fine with me. Yes, Eric, great job. Yes, Ayana, good. Was doing a great job. Savannah, good. Yep. I'll give you guys about 20 more seconds on that one if you want to show me your text evidence. One of my students said, "Hey, Mr. Matt," because they saw me yelling for you the other day. Yeah, Mari, that's a good one. All right, great job, guys. Let's switch back. Question 4. What is Artie's demeanor? That means like his attitude toward his father, his behavior towards his dad, based on what you have read so far. So Artie seems concerned about his father's poor health and pill dosage. Artie does not seem interested in his father's life unless it involves material for his novel, for his book. C, Artie refuses to speak to his father at all. D, Artie is blatantly disrespectful towards his father. So there's 2 answers we can eliminate here. I want you to put into the chat the 2 answers that you know we can eliminate. Which 2 answers from number 4 can we eliminate? Yeah, good. I'm seeing a lot of you guys get these right. Yep, we're going to eliminate C and D. We know he's definitely not refusing to speak to his father because he goes to visit his father and talk about the book, right? So he's definitely not refusing to talk to him. He's not blatantly disrespectful. He's not like, screw you, dad, you're the worst. Like, that doesn't happen. So we can eliminate C and D. So if we're looking for the best possible answer here, Artie seems concerned about his father's poor health. Artie does not seem interested in his father's life unless it involves material. Which one is more about his behavior toward his father throughout both chapter 1 and 2 that we read so far? Go ahead and type your answer in. Okay, I'm seeing like a tie between A and B. All right, I want us to go back to the text. Y'all know I love doing that. Okay. For the next few months, I went back to visit my father quite regularly to hear his story. What did we know at the beginning of the novel? He hadn't seen his dad in years, right? And now all of a sudden, he's going back regularly to hear his dad's story. So he jumps in, about mom, 11, 12, 13. What are you doing, Pop? I'm making daily portions of my pills, 14, 15, 16. And then he's telling him what all the pills are for my condition. I have to fight to save my life. He's telling him about this magazine about these prescription pills. Maybe you want to read it. And Artie's like, no, thanks. About mom. Did she have any boyfriends before she met you? And he changes the subject here away from the pills. So looking at that page 26 again, I want y'all to really think about that one. Yeah, good. Now you're fixing it. Good job, guys. Yep, the answer is B. Yep, good job. If we're looking at that question, Artie doesn't seem interested in his father's life unless it involves material for his novel. He is not asking his dad questions about the pills. He doesn't want to read his dad's health magazine. He didn't see his dad for years, and now all of a sudden he's writing this book. He's going to see his dad regularly again. So B makes the most sense for number 4. Absolutely. All right, and then number 5 is an open response. It's not race strategy because I already gave you the text evidence. This is just in your own words. So number 5, it says analyze and respond to the following quote in 3 to 5 sentences. This is from 33, the last page we read. What does the author mean by, it has many, many such stories? Synagogues burned, that's like a Jewish church, that's what a synagogue is. Synagogues burned, Jews beaten with no reason, whole towns pushing out all the Jews, each story worse than the other on page 33. So for going back again. If you want to know where this is, it was the last page that we read for today when they're explaining all the different things that they are hearing about what's going on in Germany when they're on the train. It's at the very bottom left of page 33. Many, many stories, synagogues burned, Jews beaten with no reason, whole towns pushing out all Jews, each story worse than the other. And then in the very next frame, let's hope that those Nazi gangsters get thrown out of power. Let's just pray they don't start a war. So just saying, remember, they're in Poland. They're in a different country next door to Germany, but they're hearing all these stories coming from Germany already for that quote. So this is an open response in your own words. You're going to take like 3 or 4 sentences here and respond to it in your own words, not the full race strategy, because I already gave you the text evidence. And as far as the lesson goes, that was the last question for today. And that's what we are going to read for today. Again, I'm going to be posting the lesson tomorrow and Thursday for this week. Like normal, they are about 30 minutes each, the lessons, when you sit down and do them. And then starting next week, it'll be on Canvas. And instead of 4 30-minute lessons, I'll be posting 2 1-hour lessons starting next week. So if you want to stay on the call and you want to type in your answer to number 5, or you want to ask me about a different question if you're just now catching up, or whatever it is, you can do that here. And I'll stay on the call for a few more minutes and answer any questions that people have.